On this sipping rock, an incredible vision. When we did approach, I did not know if it could be a Sonerilla, so a Melastomataceae, or a Gesneriaceae, or an Impatiens, or maybe also an Acanthaceae. But while approaching, we see actually it is an Impatiens. And all the rock is covered, it's totally sipping water in every part, is flowing, very light flow, and mosses are covering and emerges on the rock in the small, because the rock is not regular, there are some asperities, and each plant is an individual plant. So hopefully now is the end of the rainy season, so they are perfectly growing and flowering, but probably during the dry season, all the leaves disappear. So the problem is to know if actually it's an annual species, so reproduction only by seeds, or a perennial species. In this case, it should be a tuber at the base. So when I look like this, it's not so simple, but I'll try to see more closely. Oh, yes. I see this one. And no doubt at all, there is a small tuber. We see the round structure totally covering the rock, but it is totally rounded. Oh yes, on each one, I can see this a swollen structure. So it is a perennial species and withstanding the dry season through these tubers remaining on the rocks. So it is probably with nothing at all during the dry season and totally mass flowering like this during the humid season, the rainy season. I try just to remove in a soft way this tuber from the rock. I put after again in another place just to see a little bit the structure. Oh yes, okay. We clearly see the tuberous base of the stem, the long stem, the verticillate, more or less pseudo-verticillate leaves, and we see the small roots appearing at the top of the tuber. It's actually succession of tubers. It's a vegetative propagation of these tubers, and we see clearly also the small roots emerging. So all these small structure, tuberous structure, will be the only remaining parts during the dry season. The structure is very similar to many Argostema, for instance, in the Rubiaceae, living in the same habitat, some begonias, some Sonerilla. So all these plants growing on seasonally sipping rocks have this type of tubers. So it's an incredible sight, and we see they will flower still for a long time because new flowers are emerging everywhere. We see, of course, the so beautiful design, characteristic design of Impatiens flower with the two lobes at the base, some spots in the middle. It has a very long scape. The stem of the inflorescence is very, very long in this species. So all the flowers are emerging above the foliage because the leaves are more or less congested at the top of the stem. So all the leaves are a kind of rosette at the top of the stem, and from here emerge the inflorescence. So it's a miracle vision, as you can have sometimes. So here in Ceylon, in Sri Lanka, we know there are many species of Impatiens. Most of them are endemic, of course. Some are shared with South India. Here we are close to a tumultuous waterfall. And now the water is not the highest, but we see that sometimes, of course, the water current is much stronger. Why? Because we see all these shrubs which are totally with the shape like this in the direction of the flowing water, and these shrubs with very narrow leaves are obviously rheophytic species. Unfortunately, I don't see flowers. I see maybe, yes, flower buds here and some fruits. We clearly see the small flowers with the long stamens, and also all these elements taken by the water flow and fixed on the stems of all these shrubs, rheophytic shrubs. Here we clearly see the maturing, almost mature fruits, and the shape is very characteristic of these berry-fruited myrtaceae, so Eugenia syzygium, and we see the spherical structure of the berry and the remaining part of the calyx at the top, which is characteristic of this group of myrtaceae. And the seeds inside are very, very small. And also what is characteristic is the young leaves, which are red, reddish, very elegant young leaves, opposite leaves, of course, characteristic of all these myrtaceae, with a beautiful copper reddish color at all these stages when young like this. Just under this Eugenia, I see something. I didn't think it was the young plant of this, but actually I see some emerging inflorescences which are not similar at all. Oh yes, and here I see a flower. Oh yes, okay. It's not at all a myrtaceae. This is an acanthaceae, a rheophytic acanthaceae. Maybe genus Discoristae or something like that, or Hygrophila. Oh yes, we see. Oh yes, here I perfectly see the flowers, small white flowers with a dark purple center, but it's incredible to see the leaf shape and shiny structure is exactly the same in the Myrtaceae and in this Acanthaceae, so totally different families. The Acanthaceae remains smaller, but we see it's actually, it becomes lignified also, because we see the base which is strongly lignified and resisting also to the current. So we see different rheophytic species and also the small grass, Pogonaterum paniceum, which is common in all over Asia. It's a small grass, we love it, of course, but this is very common. It's not at all the case for the Acanthaceae and for the Myrtaceae, which are probably endemic species. So, wonderful place here, and probably still many other things would be interesting to discover if we could climb on the so shining and the slippery cliff. On these rock slabs close to the waterfall, we see growing among the mosses a very plain green little plant which has beautiful pink flowers. And when we see these three-petaled pink flowers, we immediately see it is a Sonirilla. And here it's totally permanently wet. It is maybe somewhat rheophytic because sometimes the water is flowing here. But what is also interesting is that when we look, we see all the root system is quite thick, covering the rock, so it's not at all an annual species, it is a perennial species which has stems creeping among the mosses and creating a small population like this with all the roots covering the rock, tightly appressed to the rock. This is typical of many rheophytic species which have, of course, to withstand sometimes a very strong current and to remain fixed. And always a beautiful three bright yellow stamens characteristic of the Sonnerilla species. So here we see a large clump of Lagenandra species. Lagenandra is quite close to Cryptocoran. And Lagenandra actually is a genus that we can find only in southern India and in Sri Lanka. And the species are usually not the same, of course. This one is one of the big ones, like maybe Lagenandra ovata or Lagenandra lancifolia. This group, maybe not the most exciting, but it's interesting to see that here in this quite not too much turbulent water, it is perfectly growing at the base of the trees in a half-shaded area. And this vertical stone wall close to some Acrotrema, for instance here. And we see this succession of small boats, upward open boats. And actually, when we look more closely, we see a tiny flower here, the tiny white flower. And so it means actually that these boat-shaped structures are the fruits of, and when I see this, immediately I recognize Ophiorhiza, a member of the Rubiaceae, the genus Ophiorhiza, from Asia, from India to New Guinea, on the Pacific Islands, many also in Tahiti, for instance. And so we see it's very interesting because these boat-shaped structures open at the top. In this case, the tiny seeds, it's a dust seeds, are totally dispersed by rain splash. So when rain drops are coming, hurting the fruit, the capsular fruit, all the tiny seeds are emerging out and explode with the drops. And so it means that in this case, the tiny seeds are with all the tiny drops emerging, and they are reaching the surface, and among the mosses, the seeds are germinating, and we see young individuals. For instance, this is a young Ophiorhiza here, many young here also, different sizes. So all are issued from the rain splash when the raindrops are hurting this fruit. So it's a perfect adaptation, of course, to this, the dispersion in these vertical areas. So, a few hours after leaving Colombo, we are at on less than 200 meters above sea level, at about 180, so it's a very low area, and it's one of the few remaining parts of Laoland tropical rainforest in Sri Lanka. And when arriving in this protected forest just north of Kitulgala, what I see is something, for me, incredible. I see this vertical cliff covered by one plant species only, and this plant actually is a member of the genus Acrotrema. And what is exceptional? Acrotrema, actually, there are quite few species, less than 10 species, very few in southern India, one in South Thailand and Malaysia, and 5 or 6 or 7 in Sri Lanka. And why is it so strange? Of course, it's strange to see that only one in Malaysia and quite many in Sri Lanka, but what is very exciting is that this herbaceous plant actually belongs to a ligneous family of plants. It belongs to Dilleniaceae, and most Dilleniaceae are trees, medium or big trees, and big lianas, like Tetracera, for instance, or Davila in America, and of course also some herbaceous lianas in Australia. It's where some species did evolve in Australia, but not at all. It's a genus Hibercia, among the climbing species in Australia. But what is incredible is that the species of Acrotrema are all herbaceous. It's herbaceous plants, and we see all these individual plants growing vertically. And also what is very surprising is the density. No empty space at all. The plants are growing everywhere. So the problem is it vegetative propagation through stolons, for instance, or through the young shoots emerging from the roots, or is it sexual reproduction? And when I look, I see very young individuals here, for instance, and here among the mosses. So when we see the cotyledons of the young individuals like this, it means it's sexual reproduction and not vegetative propagation. So probably it's due to the fact when we look at the flowers, we see all the flowers congested in the middle, and when the fruits are maturing, they are bending downward and releasing probably the seeds close to the mossy surface. And in this case, of course, the ants can disperse the seeds, so we see babies everywhere. So it's not common at all to see so dense population on a so vertical cliff, because of course many Sonerilla, many Gesneriaceae, many Begonia have a dense populations on vertical cliffs, but not so dense. Here, not a single centimeter is free. But we see that the regeneration is occurring because probably after heavy rains, some parts are totally falling. Probably it was the case here. So it was falling, and now all the new babies are appearing everywhere. So this part of the rock is covered everywhere. But these endemic species have a quite narrow distribution, and actually in this forest we'll see, but I think probably we'll see it only here. So I'm very happy just when arriving in Sri Lanka to discover this population of Acrotrema, which is probably Acrotrema uniflorum. We clearly see all the flowers of the Acrotrema here, and all these are separate from each other. Probably it's why the name of the species is Acrotrema uniflorum. Uniflorum because unique flower, even if of course they are totally congested from the base, it's an inflorescence, but each flower is separate from the other one. We see clearly the green sepals and flowers not yet open, but here for instance maybe it's an early maturing fruit. When I touch, yes, it's a little bit thick and bending down, and the seeds can be dispersed in the mosses around the mother plant. So maybe also some ants are collecting in the seeds some parts emerging from the seed, like a caruncula or something like that, or elaiosome with some either sweet, either sugar or oily structure, which are very good for the ants dispersing the seeds when they keep only the part which is interesting for them, and they throw out the seed, and the seed can germinate on these vertical supports. We see clearly the shape of the leaf, which is not peciolate, but which has some indentation at the base, very elegant, distinctive nerves on each side, regular nerves, which are characteristic of the Dilleniaceae family. Here we clearly see all the seedlings. Here just the two opposite cotyledons, here emerging from the rocky mosses. Here on this one we see the two cotyledons and then all the first leaves, and we already see the shape, which is like a little bit like a violin shape of the young leaves. We see a little bit older one here, and so on. And here, for instance, this one is very cute with the design of the leaves, which is totally indented. is strange because they look a little bit like another species, which is Acrotrema dissectum, but so it's we see it's quite variable according to individuals. C'est bizarre ce cas. Finally, when looking more closely, it looks like a fern, but it is a fern. It is also a rosetted fern. But what is incredible is that the shape of the leaves is exactly the same as the first part of the leaves of the Acrotrema, with indented. We see clearly on bigger individuals like this. All these indentation so are very, very similar to this fern, and also this fern has the same habit with being rosetted like this. So it's quite strange to see there's a similarity between two groups which are absolutely different. Here we see really the indentation of the base. It's not the pétiole, it's simply the blade which becomes narrower and decurrent on the base. And we see also that it's a sheathing leaf like in many monocotyledons, but of course it is a dicot, it's a Dilleniaceae. So here we see on this cliff begonia. So it's quite usual to see that the young leaves close to the ground, to the support, are maculated with bright white dots, and after, when they become older, they become totally green. Just here still some whitish spot on green. So there are very few species of begonia in Sri Lanka, so it will be probably quite easy to know which one it is. Of course, we don't see flowers. Probably it's a perennial species, probably it has a small tuber on the rock. This member of the Araceae family, climbing along the trunk and looking a little bit like a Monstera. Actually, yes, it's in the same group of Monsteroideae, but Monstera are from South America. Here we are in Asia and in Sri Lanka, the genus Rhaphidophora. There are very few species, but this is most probably Rhaphidophora pertusa, which is also existing in South India, but this one is actually very different from the one we have seen before in South India. The leaf shape is absolutely perfect. Sometimes it's an incision in the leaves, sometimes it's holes, but the vines are very, very prominent on the lower side of the leaf, so it's why it is a little bit different from the one we did observe in South India. But anyway, it's very beautiful and very American-like when we look at this, but it is totally native here in Sri Lanka. We just arrived in the Makandawa Rainforest Reserve, and here it's a really low altitude because it's only about 75 meters above sea level. It's incredible to see that there are still some rainforest, lowland forest in so low altitude. And when just arriving, what I see on this vertical cliff, another Acrotrema species. So beautiful, so elegant. We see all the vines are totally white, and after the division in two successive vines is also a smaller white line. It's absolutely perfect. It's another Acrotrema. It's not Uniflorum, it's another one, but it will be quite easy to know which one it is, maybe Arnotianum or somebody else, but it's incredibly beautiful. White silver vine. Why is it white? It's white because all the cells of the epidermis, the last layer of cells in the leaf, are totally empty. I mean, they are filled with air and not at all with liquid, with water or with sap. And it's exactly like tiny, tiny bubbles. It's like a kind of bubble foam just at the top of the vines, all the vines of the leaf. So it's a reservoir of air. It's difficult to know if it can be useful in early morning to have some more CO2 for photosynthesis, and during the day after, while photosynthesis release oxygen, maybe for respiration at night, when the cells, empty cells, are filled with oxygen at night, it can be useful for respiration. But actually, all this has still to be tested. But anyway, she doesn't care. She's beautiful, and she's so happy to be here on her vertical cliff. So under this vertical rock, sipping rock close to this small waterfall, we see a plant looking like a fern, but of course when we look more closely, we see it's not a fern, it is an Elatostema in the Urticaceae, so it has characteristic narrow leaves of the rheophytic species, which can receive a lot of flowing water without breaking, but this one is very elegant because it is branched, it is much branched, and keeping always these narrow leaves, just some indentation at the top of the leaves on each side. Actually, this kind of Elatostema, we can see them in most parts of Asia and even Pacific Islands, like Solomon Islands, Fiji, for instance. So growing always in these humid, permanently humid and often flooded areas, we see is different species, of course. And oh yes, and here I see a dead leaf of when I see the venation, no doubt at all it is a leaf of a Dipterocarp family, maybe a Dipterocarpus. And Sri Lanka is really very different from India about that, is that in Sri Lanka there are many, many Dipterocarp species. We know that in Southeast Asia, Dipterocarpaceae is the most important tree family, but in India there are not so well, there are very few species. But here in Sri Lanka, a lot of species and a lot of different genera also. So in this way again, Sri Lanka is closer to the other parts of Southeast Asia than to India by itself. So it's really, Sri Lanka is really a transition zone between Indian subcontinent and Asian areas with islands like Sumatra, Borneo, etc. On this sipping rock, the Elatostema is not alone. Of course, we see here the rheophytic shrub we did see this morning belonging to Acanthaceae, but also a fern very similar to the Elatostema, but it is really a fern. And important is that actually we see it has a small trunk. We see it's not really a tree fern, but we see that all the individuals have this dark trunk like this, and in some way it's quite reminiscent of what we did see in some Blechnum species in New Caledonia. And we see clearly the black structure is made of the roots of the fern. Here we see another species of Acrotrema. It is a very small species, very undulate leaves on the margin. Margin is undulate, and also what is different is the petiole. Petiole is quite long. We see here, just under my finger, we see the petiole, which is about 1 centimeter long. Leaves are quite rigid, and it has a little bit whitish vines, not as white as the previous one we did see, but it is obviously a small species because we don't see flowers, but obviously these plants are adult. Actually, Acrotrema is very variable in Ceylon, in Sri Lanka. There are only few species described, but we know that there are many things different which can be interpreted as varieties or something else. Anyway, it is a beautiful creature. Along this fast-flowing river with some rapids or small waterfalls, I see in the cracks one plant that I did think was probably young Lagelandra. So Lagelandra in Aracé, because we did see in water many Lagelandra, so I think they were small in the cracks like this. But when I see this, actually I see an inflorescence which is not at all inflorescence of an Aracé, but it is obviously a ginger. It is a family Zingiberaceae, and what is very surprising for me is that it is a rheophytic species, and for me, up to now, I did never see a rheophytic ginger, and we see the leaves are totally flown away by the current of the water, so it is a rheophytic ginger. Which genus? I see the bracts like this. It is a Disticus, I don't know, maybe group of Busenbergia, I don't know. I should ask to my friends who are much more than me specialized in ginger, like Jana or Axel, to know what is this guy. But for me, it's not common at all. And we see in all the cracks, it is growing all different sizes, but not at all outside the water flow. So really a rheophytic ginger. These filaments actually are the foliage of an Utrericularia. We see long, flat, totally flat filaments, and it's a vegetative apparatus. Oh, and I see a flower here, a small, tiny flower, not open, but we clearly see it is an Utricularia, really similar to a moss. It's a moss-like Utricularia. So every time we see Acrotrema, it is a different plant. It's incredible. Today, since this morning, It's a city Acrotrema 4 times on 4 different plants. I say different plants, it doesn't mean different species, of course. But we see this one is very big, and also it has a long pétiole, a very, very long pétiole. We can see here. We see the sheath of the leaf, which is very long also. The vine, the red vine, midrib, is very prominent and perfectly red. This one is very dentate. We can see the indentation of the leaf. In some way it looks much more like a mini Codonobea in the Gesneriaceae in Malaysia, for instance, but we see everywhere the stem is developed and erect, so it is again totally different. And we see again that it's sexual reproduction and not vegetative, because we see all the babies at different ages. Very beautiful regeneration, always on mossy substratum. Here is yes, it's a rock. It looks like lateritic rock. So this genus Acrotrema in Sri Lanka is really incredible. Actually, it is the most prominent plant on the rocks in forest understory. Of course, there are some impatiens when it's very humid, but when it's normally humid, not totally seeping, Acrotrema is the king of these habitats. This plant is a grass. Actually, it doesn't look like a grass, but it is a grass. It is a genus Pharus. We know it everywhere in Asia. But what's interesting is actually that this Pharus, only one species, is Pharus zelanicus. So it means that the species was first discovered in Sri Lanka, in Ceylon, because it is Pharus zelanicus. So it's interesting after seeing it in the Moluccas, in Solomon Island, in New Guinea, in Thailand, in Malaysia, Borneo, everywhere, finally to come to Sri Lanka and to see it at home, at the first home where she was discovered. Of course, it is this grass very special because the leaf is turned back, so it means that the main vine, instead of being on the lower side, is turned up, and we see it is totally emerging above the leaf. So we see the torsion of the leaf is just at the beginning here. The insertion of the leaf is turned. And so what does it mean about chloroplasts? Maybe because chloroplasts are just under the epidermis layer, so maybe they receive more light like this when leaf is turned on the other side, but probably it has signification. It's the main vine just on the top. One of these yellow-flowered hibiscus, a native hibiscus, and this one is very beautiful because the flower is hanging down, bending down, so it's very elegant because the petals also are a little bit undulate. So I don't know which one it is, but it has very big flowers and a very beautiful pale yellow color, and just above on the cliff, it's incredible. It's totally covered by Phagrea, and we see all the stages, seedlings, small shrubs, and much bigger trees, and we see the roots hanging down and fixed on the rock itself, and probably all the trees we can see around the waterfall are adult Phagrea. We see clearly the same color of the leaves, same shape, and we see all the branches just hanging in the direction of the waterfall. It's why the waterfall is so elegant also, because it is totally surrounded and designed by this Phagrea with the branches in the direction of the waterfall. The Dipterocarpaceae with a characteristic crown, cauliflower crown, exhibiting a very clear shyness from the crown, especially crownlet shyness. So there is shyness between two successive trees, but also inside the tree. All the main branches of the leaves totally dissociate from the narrow other branches. So just somewhat protected from the heavy sun, under this sipping rock here, we see two things. We see this impatiens, which has the pink flowers. We see the characteristic shape of the impatiens flower with the two lobes. In this one, very separated, and it is one of the species with very small round leaves. So it is emerging from the mossy rock, and it has a small tuber inside the rock. And it's funny because just side by side we see a small acrotrema. This acrotrema has the vine in the middle, which is totally white, really reflecting the light. But what's interesting here is the round leaf of the impatiens and the long leaf of it. But it's first time we see this type of impatiens. We know there are many species of impatiens in Sri Lanka, but it's always good in so short time to see different species. At the top of this sipping rock, in full sun, we see patches of these herbaceous plants with quite straight, rigid leaves in rosettes and inflorescence, which are a kind of spherical thing at the top of a long peduncle. And actually, this is a member of Eriocolaceae. It's a monocot family, but what's interesting is the only family in monocotyledons to have inflorescence, capitulate inflorescence, like actually daisies, for instance. So among the group of monocotyledons, it is really special due to the shape of all the congested flowers, really like a capitule of Asteraceae. We see clearly laterally. So always these plants are totally in connection with water. Along this small stream, in the mountainous situation, we're at 1,200 something meters above sea level, and we see a group of Fresinecia, and they are flowering now. So it's a Pandanus family, Pandanaceae, but it is climbing species. All the Fresinecia are climbing species, but here it's quite surprising to see them growing like this along the river, not climbing to the trees. But it is in perfect situation because when we look at the leaves, we see it's a spiral arrangement, three tristichous leaves, and just above the inflorescence, we see the usual three colorful spots. Here the spots are white and yellow at the tip, and in the middle there are the inflorescence subtended by these spots. We are in a mossy forest, not far from the Adams Peak, south of Nuwara, and actually in this forest we see some orchids, for instance, this one which has small flowers, very small inflorescence and small flowers, and quite long stems, long internodes, and the beautiful roots, the white roots due to velamen, fixing to any support. But what's interesting is that actually the stem is growing in the direction of light, but the roots are growing in direction opposite to the light, which allows them to catch support like this branch. Here on the rocks in this small forest waterfall, we see something quite surprising because water is flowing everywhere. We see, for instance, the light bright green color of something which could be an hepatic or a member of the Utricularia. Yes, actually it is a hepatic, it's not Utricularia. It is a hepatic growing on the rocks, but what is most surprising is to see bright pink flowers, and actually these bright pink flowers are the flowers of an impatiens. But what is surprising is that it is totally growing in the water. The leaves are very thick. When we touch the leaves, we could think it's a plant growing in dry spots, but not at all. It is totally thick and growing in the water, and it is a group of impatiens which have a tuberous base totally fixed to the rock, and all the leaves emerging from this base, a long peduncle, and the flowers are at the end of this long peduncle. So the group of the Scyphos impatiens, there are few species, but in South India, almost in Sri Lanka, few species of impatiens are growing like this. It's the only place in the world where we can find this type of impatiens. So I think it's the first time I see a plant with so succulent leaves growing in a so humid habitat. We have many surprises in Sri Lanka. So here we clearly see the round succulent leaves, very thick, like leaves of peperomia, for instance. But what is surprising is that it is growing in the water with the rocks all covered by this hepatic, which is totally growing inside the water, and it is perfectly at home because it is flowering, and we can see the long scapose stem for the peduncle of the inflorescence, which is long, and all the flowers are at the top of this scapose structure, and we clearly see a very long spore. This impatiens has a very long curved spore. We can see perfectly here at each flower. This is a small plant, looks like a mini tree fern, but when I say mini, it's really miniature, because when we compare with my finger, we see the size, and it is branched, and we see it's an adult plant because we see here at the top the fruit, which is open, capsular fruit. So it is a biophytum. There are quite many species of biophytum, but usually it's a bigger plant. And this one in forest understory, we could think it could become bigger, but actually it's a real small species. We see clearly the stem, which is branched. This is only one plant with a stem which is branched, and only leaves, it's a compound leaves at the top of the single stem. We see here quite many, and those seeds are very small. It's a rain splash dispersing the seed. It's why we have a small population. It's a perfect habitat, and we see also a small acrotrema. So we did see impatiens, we see mosses, ferns, we see biophytum. Here is a climbing rubiacea, maybe a psychotria, which is climbing here. On less than 1 square meter, we see quite many people growing side by side. Oh, here I see a big shrubby plant with opposite leaves and stipules, and according to the venation of the leaves, opposite stipule is rubiacea, but this venation is characteristic of the genus Hedyotis. I know that in India and Sri Lanka there are many species of Hedyotis, but this one is very big because usually Hedyotis are small herbaceous plants with quite small leaves. And here is the giant of the genus. It is totally in forest understory. We don't see inflorescence, but this mossy forest is really rich. So Sri Lanka is really the country of the Acrotrema. Every 100 meters we see an Acrotrema, very often different from each other. And here it's interesting because it is a very small one. I did think it was a juvenile, but actually we see the flower at anthesis totally open, and we see clearly the 5 bright yellow, very deep yellow petals of the flower of Dilleniaceae, and we can see in the middle the many stamens which are characteristic also of this family Dilleniaceae. But we see the incredibly small size of the adult plant. So this is either a species or a form. Leaves are very rigid, same as many plants around here. But once again, so strange to see a tiny plant in totally shaded area like this, while most Dilleniaceae are big shrubs or trees or big lianas. So it's very strange to see that one family is able to evolve also like this, producing tiny plants, shade-loving plants. And the success here in Sri Lanka is incredible about this Acrotrema. It is, I think, the most characteristic plants of the forest understory. Impatiens, of course, on Sonerilla where it's very humid, but when it's a medium humid like this, Acrotrema are really at home, always on more or less vertical cliffs or stones. Up to now, it is really the smallest we have seen. So, on this small rocky area, just close to the water in the forest understory, actually this area is a real small garden. We see graminea, grass here growing. I don't know if it becomes big or not. We see Selaginella here, for instance. We see again the Acrotrema, which are here. We see the beautiful small Sonerilla. It has a long stem, but small leaves, very unequal leaves. It has small leaves on opposite a big leaf, which is quite usual in Sonerilla. We see, for instance, on small stems like this, we see clearly one big leaf with one small one opposite to the big leaf. And here we see it is flowering. Sometimes they are pink, sometimes pure white. And also these things are another species of Impatiens. Still one more, which is also probably tuberous, and which has a long scapose stem, a group of leaves, more or less pseudo-verticillate at the top, and a long scape for inflorescence. And we see the flowers, not yet open, but obviously they are very small flowers. So it is still one more species of Impatiens. I don't remember, but probably more than 50 species of Impatiens in Sri Lanka. And in very few days we see at least 6 species already. So Sri Lanka is really a country for Impatiens. I don't remember, probably around 50 species, something like that, in Sri Lanka. Most are endemic, some are shared with southern India. But anyway, we see every time new species, and already in very few days, if you walk in the jungle, we see already at least 6 different species of Impatiens. So, and very different from all the type of species we can see either in Eastern Africa, where it's very rich, or in Southeast Asia, also many Impatiens, or even in Kerala, in southern India. Here in Sri Lanka, we are facing many different growth habits, and it's very interesting to see that the genus Impatiens has its type of evolution in Sri Lanka. Here we see a small shrub between Herbaceous and shrubby. Actually, when I see the leaves, venation, opposite leaves, and the terminal inflorescence, I see it is another species of Ediotis. You have seen a big one before, and this is another one with very beautiful white flowers hanging down inflorescence like this, drooping inflorescence, and we see the very, very long pistil emerging from the flowers. So a very long style, and the stigma at the top, which is a little bit bowl shaped at the top. So it is the female element, it is the pistil of the flowers. And we see the long stipules, stipular appendage characteristic of the Ediotis. We see this long, clear structure here. So happy to see this guy. Here I am in the middle of the clump of a ginger. We see the tall stems of this ginger. We know many genera can be like this, Onstetia, Amomum, Etlingera, quite many tall like this. But when we look down, we see actually the inflorescence which are not running along the ground, but totally erect inflorescence, a young one and a one which is totally developed at anthesis. And we see all the bracts at the periphery. It's a kind of cup, and all the water actually is fixed, remains like small aquariums, and the flowers will appear at the end of these bracts. So probably it is a genus Etlingera, because there are many Etlingera like this, but sometimes also some Onstetia can have this type of inflorescence. But I think it is Etlingera, but I'll check later with my friends who are much more involved in the gingers. But anyway, this is a Sri Lankan species of ginger, a clump here. Here we see the same tall ginger. The inflorescence in this case is much more developed. We see now the bracts are totally opening. There is a cup-like base with big bracts which are not fertile at all. It's like a leafy bract, and opens like a tulip at the top. All the smaller bracts which are the floriferous bracts, and we see the flowers, the flower buds, which are pure white, and we know that the gingers are always opening in the morning. Maybe this flower was opened today, and probably these two will be opened tomorrow. But it's so strange to see these bracts like kind of a pineapple in some way, and collecting the water, because after the fruits are maturing inside the water collected by the bracts. And it's interesting because we see an old, very old inflorescence, totally brown, but in spite of being old, all the bracts are decayed, but there are still new flowers emerging in the middle. So it's quite common in gingers to have, even on senescent old inflorescence, to have new flowers appearing. But I didn't know that in the genus Alpinia, but here in Onstetia or Etlingera, I did not know that, but it's very strange. Here, this herbaceous, half-shrubby plant is also another species of Ediotis. Genus Ediotis here in Rubiaceae is very rich. We see it's spreading underground with small flowers which have the 4 lobes, 4 petaloid lobes, pure white, like many Ediotis. On the banks of this river, we see there are sometimes very strong currents, because when we see the shape of these shrubs, totally bended like this, but totally flowering, and these shrubs actually are another species of Ediotis. Ediotis in the Rubiaceae is so well diversified here, and we see this species has very, very thick leaves, which are curved inward. It is probably a way to avoid the very strong sunlight, so the leaves are all curved inward. And we see actually, so these leaves are erect, turned on each side inward, and the inflorescence are quite a huge inflorescence at the end of the stem. So the characteristic small white flowers of Hedyotis, but in this case there are many flowers. So regeneration is perfect. We see small ones, medium and bigger ones. So it is perfectly at home as a rheophytic species. So many different types of species in this genus Hedyotis.